The observation deck of the convergence station hummed with the low thrum of 100 different species conducting their business. Albert stood at the reinforced viewport, his hands clasped behind his back, watching the planet below rotate slowly through the eternal night of space. Vexor Prime, a death world by any galactic standard. You cannot be serious, chittered Zixthara, the station's leading xenobiologist. Her four compound eyes reflected the sickly green atmosphere of the planet below. Humans have a reputation for recklessness, but this borders on suicidal. Albert turned to face the insectoid alien, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. I've read your report, Doctor. Seems manageable. Zixthara's mandibles clicked in what Albert had learned was the Thrixian equivalent of incredulous laughter. Manageable? The atmospheric pressure alone would crush most species within minutes. The native predators hunt in packs of 20 or more. The fungal spores in the air are toxic to 98% of known carbon-based life forms. And the temperature swings. She paused, her antennae trembling. During the night cycle, it drops to -60 standard units. Most die by dawn. Sounds like home, Albert said quietly, his gaze drifting back to the planet. Home. Zixthara's translator struggled with the inflection. Your homeworld cannot possibly be this hostile. Albert's smile widened. Doctor, my homeworld has deserts that reach 70 degrees Celsius where nothing should survive, yet people live there. We have frozen wastelands at -80 where the wind can strip flesh from bone. We have jungles so dense with predators that every step could be your last. We have oceans with pressures that would compact your exoskeleton into a singularity. He turned to face her fully. And yet, we've made a home in all of them. The door to the observation deck hissed open, and Katniss strode in, her boots echoing against the metal floor. She wore the standard human exploration gear, lightweight, adaptive, and covered in pockets that held more equipment than should physically fit. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical braid, and her gray eyes held the same calm determination that had made her one of humanity's top survival specialists. Sorry I'm late, she said, extending a hand to Zixthara, who recoiled slightly before remembering human greeting customs. Traffic in the docking bay was hell. So, when do we drop? You're both insane, Zixthara said, backing away from the viewport. The Galactic Council sent me here to assess Vexor Prime for potential colonization. Every simulation, every model, every shred of data says this world is incompatible with sapient life. Every simulation was run by species that evolved on garden worlds, Katniss countered, pulling up a holographic display from her wrist unit. Gravitation .8 standard, predictable weather patterns, abundant resources, no major predators. She swiped through images of various council homeworlds. Comfortable. Safe. Boring. Boring keeps you alive, Zixthara insisted. No, Albert said, his voice taking on an edge. Boring makes you soft. It makes you complacent. Humans didn't crawl out of the cradle by playing it safe, Doctor. We did it by looking at the impossible and saying, watch me. Katniss nodded, expanding the holographic display to show Vexor Prime's topography. Look at this. Yes, the surface is hostile, but the cave systems are extensive. Natural geothermal vents provide heat and energy. The same fungal spores you're worried about could be processed into antibiotics. I've already run preliminary analyses from the probe data. And those pack predators? They hunt in patterns. Predictable patterns. You've been here for 6 hours, and you're already planning to domesticate the wildlife. Zixthara's antennae flattened against her skull. Not domesticate, Albert corrected. Coexist. There's a difference. Humans learned long ago that you don't conquer nature. You learn from it, adapt to it, become part of it. Zixthara moved to her own console, pulling up files that had taken her research team months to compile. In the past standard year, we've sent down 37 drones. 29 were destroyed within the first planetary rotation. The remaining 8 lasted less than a week. The atmospheric storms alone generate winds exceeding 300 units per hour. The lightning strikes with enough frequency and power to provide an abundant source of energy if properly harnessed, Katniss interrupted, her fingers dancing across her display. I'm seeing this, Doctor. I'm seeing opportunity where you see obstacles. That is because humans have a fundamentally broken survival instinct, Zixthara said, though her tone had shifted from incredulous to something approaching curiosity. Every other species in the council looks at danger and retreats. Humans look at danger and, what is the phrase? Lean into it. Run toward the screaming. Albert offered with a grin. Old military saying. Katniss joined him at the viewport, her expression softening as she studied the green-shrouded world below. When Earth was in its ice age, we survived. When volcanoes buried entire regions in ash, we adapted. When diseases swept through populations, we endured. We're still here, Doctor, not because we're the strongest or the fastest, but because we're the most stubborn species the universe has ever produced. Stubbornness is not a survival strategy, Zixthara protested, though her conviction was wavering. Isn't it? Albert challenged. Every species in the Galactic Council exists because their homeworld was kind to them. Humans exist because our homeworld tried its damnedest to kill us, and we said, no thank you, and kept going. That's not recklessness, Doctor. That's resilience. That's adaptation. That's evolution doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Zixthara was silent for a long moment, her compound eyes reflecting the swirling clouds of Vexor Prime. Finally, she spoke, her voice quiet. If you survive the first night, the Council will have no choice but to reconsider its assessment. When we survive, Katniss corrected gently. Not if. When. Albert checked his chronometer. Drop pod leaves in 30 minutes. Doctor, would you like to make any bets on our survival? Humans and their gambling, Zixthara muttered, but there was something almost like amusement in her tone. I will make you a wager. If you survive 72 hours, I will personally recommend Vexor Prime for human colonization. And when we do, Katniss said, extending her hand again, you'll be invited to the groundbreaking ceremony. This time, Zixthara took the offered hand, her chitinous appendage careful against human skin. I still think you're insane. Albert laughed, the sound warm and confident in the sterile observation deck. Doctor, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. We're not insane. We're just human. And for us, most die by dawn isn't a warning. It's a challenge. As they left the observation deck, heading toward the drop pod bay, Zixthara watched them go. Somewhere in her ancient genetic memory, a spark of something unfamiliar ignited. Not fear exactly. Not admiration, either. Perhaps it was the understanding that the galaxy had just become a much more interesting place. Now that humanity was spreading among the stars, most would die by dawn. But humans? They'd probably have breakfast ready by then. The end.